Still ahead, Cooking with Christina. The OWN Network's Christina Ferrara joins us in our kitchen.
Well, welcome to the 700 Club. We've got a tremendous program today. And Christina Ferrara, you know, she used to be married to John DeLorean and married to Tony Thermopolis, one of the most fabulous cooks you've ever seen in your life.
I got to tell you, she was showing me a little bit this morning.
Ooh, she is tremendous. She's a sweetheart and a gorgeous lady. Well, anyhow, for more than a decade, an Islamic organization has been able to pass a resolution at the United Nations. Guess what it was supposed to do? To prevent defamation against all religions.
But critics actually say, Pat, that it was only designed to protect Islam. Well, Del Hurd has this look at the resolution and why it's so important for all religious believers around the world.
Human rights advocates long opposed the defamation resolution because it targeted speech, not behavior, and because it protected the rights of a religion rather than individuals. A group of Muslim nations called the Organization of the Islamic Conference sponsored the defamation resolution. Critics say they designed it to protect Islam.
This effort has been led by the Pakistanis to give UN cover to their own draconian blasphemy law and similar laws in other Islamic countries.
In Pakistan, a blasphemy law has been used to persecute Christians and other religious minorities.
Simple Christian activities like praying, worshiping, and sharing one's belief in Jesus Christ with a neighbor can be interpreted as offensive and therefore restricted.
In recent months, Islamic hardliners murdered 2 Pakistani officials for speaking out against Pakistan's blasphemy law. Muslim leaders praised the killings, sparking an international outcry. That pressure might have played a role in influencing Pakistani leaders to drop their support for the defamation resolution.
In light of the recent assassination of Governor Taseer Punjab and Shahbaz Bhatti, the Christian minister, few countries were really willing to join in this anti-defamation resolution. Those murders really demonstrated the harsh and dark nature of the blasphemy laws and those regimes that support them.
This year's resolution is based on terms advocated by Western religious rights groups. While it emphasizes protecting individuals from discrimination or violence because of their faith, religious rights watchers say it too could be used to stifle religious freedom. They also warn the OIC will probably bring back the defamation resolution in the future. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thanks, Dale. Jay Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice joins us now. Jay, you fought against this defamation resolution for years, and tell us why it's so dangerous.
Well, it was awful, Pat. It was really an act that was designed only to protect Islam and the propagation of Islam, and was used, or attempted to be used, to not only silence Christianity, but was used as an excuse, as the piece just indicated, to cause harm and violence to Christians. Here's the irony of this. It's called the defamation of religion. That's what the idea was. Well, you know, nobody should want to defame religion, but that's not what it meant. It meant that if you spoke out, if you said words that were against Islam, and by the way, that could just be the proclamation of the gospel and never mentioning Islam or Muslim religious beliefs, you would violate this. But here's what the undercurrent, the understory of what's happened here, Pat. There's a lot of reports that people are reading about how this happened. But let me tell you how it happened. The American Center for Law and Justice and the European Center for Law and Justice and other groups that were involved as well, but we got involved heavily 3 years ago. And for the first time, since this started to be introduced in 1999, when we got involved 3 years ago, for the first time, there were more no's and abstentions than yes. And then the next year, it increased even more. And then this last year, before they decided to table it, the same thing. And then they gave up. And they gave up because you had the violent situations, which was the evidence of what we've been saying. Mm-hmm. And then you had a lot of hard work by our offices. And Pat, and you appreciate this as the founder of these organizations. Yeah. We had our offices in Pakistan, our offices in Strasbourg working Geneva. We had our offices in New York working the United Nations, Washington working the United States Congress. And the end result is, and a lot of other groups were involved in this too. I don't want to take credit away from anybody else. It was a team effort. The end result is the organization of the Islamic Conference has suffered their largest defeat at the United Nations since their inception. So this was a huge victory, but It's not over. I don't want anybody to think that they're going to just stop and it's going to go away.
Jay, what is their game? Their game is to establish Islam as the preeminent religion of the world and to stifle all others. Is that really what it is?
You know, Pat, it's what you've been saying since you and I have been talking about this. This is the domination of a view of Islam that is the dominant view. In other words, world dominion. The jihad aspect of this is the takeover. It's the conquest. And I think if you look at it, it's really the export. We have a booklet that we just did at the ACLJ that talks about Sharia law and the implications under the U.S. Constitution. And we just did a documentary that went with it that deals with the whole aspects of this exporting this Shariaist agenda. And the OIC was the cover for this. And they're the largest organization inside the United Nations. So, Pat, it was to penalize every religion except Islam. That was the goal here.
You know, we've got to stand against this. I don't think the average person even understands the creeping aggrandizement of rights by these Islamic groups. They want to take over the world. You
know, they call it creeping Sharia. I said, Pat, I don't think it's creeping Sharia any longer. I think it's on a gallop, and we've got to be careful. When you've got courts in the United States, and we've seen a couple, that have actually said, well, you know, I know this woman's charged her former husband with sexual abuse, but he's arguing under Sharia law it was justified, and I'm going to, you know, abide by Sharia law. That was overturned, by the way, by the New Jersey Court of Appeals. But that's what a district court judge said. And then in Florida, just 3 weeks ago, you had a judge say, well, I'm going to apply Sharia law to this dispute. Now, why in the United States of America or in the state of Florida would you not apply Florida corporate law to a matter like this? Why would you be applying Sharia law? Could you imagine if we said, okay, we're not going to apply the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia to this. We're going to just look at the Bible, and that's how we're going to do it in court. Every group on the other side would be going ballistic, the ACLU and others. But no, it's Sharia law, it's Islamic law, they get a pass. But I'll tell you what, the American people have woken up to this. They are awake. That we had 400,000 people come to us, Pat, to sign a petition that went to the UN as a just the ground troops of support. And then the legal arguments were clear. You can't say that sharing the gospel is a violation of international law. Yeah. And look, I think most of the European countries agree with us, and you're certainly seeing now how the European countries are reacting.
Well, Jay, my friend, thanks for your fight. We love you. We appreciate what you're doing. Jay Sekulow, the American Center for Law and Justice, ladies and gentlemen, fighting for your freedom and liberty. Thanks, Jay. Well, Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN newsroom. Lee, what do you have?
Pat, President Obama is laying out his plan for cutting the huge deficits. He says he wants to reduce domestic spending in Medicare and Medicaid, as well as in defense. The president also wants to raise taxes on upper-income households. House Speaker John Boehner, though, calls any tax increase, quote, a non-starter. The president's speech comes a day after the government announced the latest spending figures and a $188 billion deficit in March. For the first half of this fiscal year, the deficit is nearly $830 billion compared to $717 billion a year ago. The deficit for the entire year expected to be a record $1.65 trillion. And yes, Pat, we're talking about real money.
Well, you know, I just don't understand. Obama comes out with a budget that was just a joke. I mean, it was just an absolute joke. It had just tiny, tiny little cuts, and actually he had an increase of spending. And so it said that when the final budget deal was reached on these few matters, that when they cut back from his budget, it was close to $78 billion. But he wanted to spend more money instead of less. I mean, it is crazy. The government is out of control. So you say, well, Mr. President, why didn't you bring your budget out sooner? What were you waiting for? Well, they don't have their act together. That's what the answer is. Well, something is interesting happening. Our good friend Sam Brownback left the Senate, ran for governor of Kansas and won. Now he's governor of Kansas. And what's he doing, Lee?
Well, he has signed 2 new laws, Pat, in the state of Kansas to protect the unborn in that state. One of the laws bans abortions after 22 weeks of pregnancy, and that's based on evidence that unborn children can feel pain by that point. The other prevents doctors from performing abortions on minors without written consent from parents. Brownback calls them important steps toward creating a culture of life in Kansas, but Planned Parenthood in that state opposes the new laws. A United Nations report says the Palestinians are ready for their own state. A UN report says the Palestinians have made significant advances in areas like education, health, and infrastructure. But it says it will be difficult for them to make progress toward a state because of Israeli occupation in the area. But Palestinian leaders plan to ask the UN General Assembly in September for statehood recognition on all the territory Israel occupied in 1967, including Gaza. The Assembly is expected to approve that measure, and we will have an in-depth look at the issue on Friday's 700 Club. Bolivia is asking the United Nations to give Mother Earth the same rights as humans. Bolivian officials believe that humans have dominated and exploited the Earth. The proposed treaty would give the Earth the right to life, pure water, and clean air, and it could restrict businesses like mining. The document is heavily influenced by Bolivia's spiritual worldview, in which an Earth deity called Pachamama is at the center of life. The document also calls on the UN to establish a so-called ministry of Mother Earth. Pat, I wish I could inform you that I was making that story up.
I really think if this was April 1st, you'd figure that was what that was all about. Pachamama?
I was thinking the same thing. Pachamama. Of all names.
Oh, brother. Well, of course, that's Evo Morales down there, who's the dictator of Bolivia. But so far, we've had religious freedom in Bolivia, so I'm not going to hit them too hard. But I just think this would pretty much shut down mining, shut down most industries, shut down air travel, you name it. And we'd be living in the jungles with bows and arrows and tomahawks, and that's where that would go if we want to bless Papa Mama. Pachamama.
Papa Mama.
All right.
Something like that. All right. Well, check this out. This is a story that's heartbreaking. A congregation is leaving its church, and check this out. The bank is ready to move in.
They want their property. They want us out, and there is no more negotiation with the bank. They want us out now.
See how this church and others are actually fighting foreclosures. That's up next. Well, later we're going to bring it on with questions from our live chat room. You see them? Will you guys wave for us one more time? Thank you. All right, don't go away. I love it when they do that.
I own a nice home. I've invested in stocks and bonds, but in today's economy,
should I consider adding gold?
Yes, a diversified portfolio makes sense in any economy. And you're not alone in thinking about diversifying your portfolio with gold. Many people own gold as a potential hedge against inflation and a declining dollar.
I've read that some people buy physical gold.
Goldline clients want more than just a piece of paper. They want peace of mind, which comes from having physical gold they can hold in their hand.
This is an important decision for me. How do I learn more?
Call Goldline today for your free investor's kit. It provides you with important information about gold and shows you how to get started. Our account executives can answer your questions and discuss our products, like the popular European gold coins. If you're concerned about the economy and want to know more about adding gold to your portfolio, call the number on your screen now and find out how you can own gold. Give us a call today.
Tomorrow, oil prices are up and showing no signs of coming down. Could an alternative be right under our feet?
That's a nice little chunk of change for doing nothing.
See why natural gas is being called the next gold.
For the first time, we have a real ability to take control of our energy future.
Plus, Rebecca St. James on the day she's been waiting for her entire life. Tomorrow on the 700 Club.
Well, you know, one way to avoid foreclosure is to pay your mortgage. But a lot of people can't do that, and the mortgage crisis is far from over. And homeowners are only a few that are they're not the only ones that are in the red. As Ephraim Graham shows, churches are also losing their properties at an alarming rate.
Higher Ground Empowerment Center is a small church in the heart of Atlanta's Vine City, the neighborhood Martin Luther King Jr. once called home. Dexter Johnson grew up in the historic church and became pastor in 1994.
God has blessed me with a wonderful group of people that love God, love ministry, and they love their pastor.
Higher Ground actually began back in 1903. Its name then was Mount Gilead Baptist Church. But in 2009, God moved the pastor and the congregation to change the name to Higher Ground. The new name marked the church's rise from the ruins after a tornado knocked down its steeple, ripped off its roof, and left the congregation without a sanctuary for more than a year.
There was a storm that came through Atlanta in March of 2008, and it shook the foundation of our church.
Now the church could lose its renovated building in a legal storm. Due to fewer members, less giving, and a decline in property value, the church can't pay its $1 million mortgage.
They want their property. They want us out. And there is no more negotiation with the bank. They want us out now.
Higher Ground's case is still playing out in court, but it only takes a short drive.
The bank padlocked their building on last Thursday.
To find churches with foreclosure notices and locked doors.
I need to cry.
Pastor Darrell Winston found his church's belongings dumped in the parking lot last July.
It's just been for us a major learning curve, and we've spent our energy and time partnering and working with other churches to make sure no church has to go through what we've gone through.
More than 100 churches are up for sale in Metro Atlanta. About a third are foreclosed properties.
No lender wants to be known as the folks that kicked the church out, and I don't blame them.
Rick Arzette is known for his ability to close church deals in the area. But even bargains like this are hard to move in this market. The bank is asking for about half what the church building is worth.
I would say last year was the worst year. It was a complete struggle to get anything done.
One result, this veteran realtor has turned into a bit of a finance teacher for preachers.
The Lord's in charge, and the Lord's going to take over. But the Lord said, go get a goal, go write it down, make a plan on how you're going to make it happen, and run it like a business. And it says that in the Bible. It may not say it that way, but that's what it says.
Business Sense led a church in suburban Atlanta to put its building on the market a year ago, even without the threat of foreclosure.
We could afford to pay those bills, and that was all we could do. So this set us free.
The Rolling Hills Baptist Church mortgage was nearly paid off when Pastor Frank Mercer asked his congregation to sell its church home and use the proceeds to fund more missions work at home and abroad.
Did your congregation think you were crazy?
Yes. But we have a pretty crazy congregation.
The church is on the road during the week with more than 55 missions projects completed this year. Members meet at this movie theater for Sunday service. It's a concept Mercer thinks may grow as the number of church foreclosures climbs in Georgia, California, Michigan, Florida, Texas, and other states.
I don't necessarily mean that every church should sell their property. But I will say that for us, it would have been sin not to.
Back in Vine City, Pastor Johnson prays for a brighter future for the 108-year-old church.
And we've been standing on God's word. We're not going anywhere. We are planted on higher ground.
But it will take a $600,000 miracle to keep the building open. Ephraim Graham, CBN News, Atlanta, Georgia.
It doesn't make any sense to me that banks would be foreclosing on churches. It doesn't help their reputation, but I guess those banks are pretty rapacious, but they're not going to get anything. So, well, what's the deal? They push a church into bankruptcy so they don't collect anything, so they've got an empty building, and the empty building begins to run down. It makes no sense at all. You know, far better to lower the mortgage and have the church paying along on something. If banks got any sense, but a lot of them don't, and some of these bankers, I mean, it may be that the federal government and the controller of the currency is putting the squeeze on them, the FDIC and others, and forcing them to do this, but this is insanity, pure and simple insanity to be closing down churches because the churches could pay if they would just work with them, but they're not doing it. So anyhow, tough luck, but it's a shame.
It is a shame, and I feel bad for the people in the congregation and for the pastors who've put their heart, soul, time, energy.
I hate to say $1 million mortgage isn't all that much, and you stretch it out over 20, 30 years. I mean, how much is it? It's just, it's a few $1,000s a month. I mean, they must have enough people maybe they've stopped giving, or maybe the people have moved. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
It's a shame.
It is a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Well, anyway, up next, Christina Ferrari. She dishes out a serving from her big bowl of love. Love that title, so stay tuned.
Do you take fish oil? There's an omega-3 supplement that's better than regular fish oil.
Staying healthy, it's not easy. I exercise regularly and eat lots of fruits and vegetables. I used to take a fish oil supplement too, but then I discovered something better than regular fish oil. Arctic Wonder Omega-3 Krill Oil. It's from the makers of One A Day, so I know I can trust it. The omega-3s in Arctic Wonder both support heart health and are scientifically proven to be better absorbed than regular fish oil. You'd have to take 6 of these fish oil soft gels to get the strength of just 2 Arctic Wonder soft gels.
The Arctic Wonder does not have an aftertaste.
They go down real easy. Arctic Wonder isn't just good for your heart. It also supports healthy brain function and a healthy immune system.
This is one of the products that I plan to take for the rest of my life.
Arctic Wonder is from One A Day and not available in stores. For a special trial offer, call or go online now. Call 1-800-409-7339. That's 1-800-409-7339. Or go online to tryarcticwonder.com now.
To see this week's top on-demand videos, go to cbn.com.
Well, Oprah Winfrey says, with the exception of her own mother and Maya Angelou, that Christina Ferrari is literally the best cook she knows. Now, that's a compliment. So it's no surprise that Oprah picked her to host her own cooking show on her own network. Check this out.
Christina Ferrari started her career as a supermodel. Her face graced the cover of major magazines. She has hosted TV shows, written books, and even started a home decor company. But Christina's passion has always been in the kitchen. Today, she's the host of Christina Ferrari's Big Bowl of Love on the OWN network. In her cookbook of the same name, she shows us how to make the most of our leftovers for fast, easy, and delicious meals.
So please welcome back to the 700 Club, the TV host and author of her new book, Big Bowl of Love, Christina. I know, Ferrari. Good to see you.
It's so nice to see you. I'm so happy to be back here again.
Absolutely. Well, it's so fun to do these segments because as I'm sitting here, I'm smelling the food.
Yeah, doesn't it smell good? All the herbs and spices you can smell.
Okay, now, sister, that is a compliment. Oprah Winfrey says next to Maya Angelou and her own mama.
Yeah, just to be named in the same sentence as Maya Angelou and her mother. Can you imagine?
Exactly.
I couldn't believe it when I saw that.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about your cooking style. What makes your cooking style really kind of stand above the rest?
Well, I try to keep things very, very simple, and I love the idea of stretching your food.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show everybody here today how we can take one chicken and make 3 different meals from it.
Okay, that sounds phenomenal.
Yeah,
now, side note, are you Italian?
Oh, Ferrari, yes,
I just want to make sure.
Yes, you can't get any more Italian. Yes, I'm Italian, my husband's Greek.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah. So
yeah, y'all have some good meals at home.
We have, that's all we do is eat. We eat all the time. We have family. We're family and eating. That's all we are.
Well, whenever you want to call me, Christina, you can call me and I'll come eat with you.
That's what I love. I love having people over and family and friends. That's what it's all about.
I love it. Well, one of the things that you said was that you teach us not only how to cook wonderfully, but really how to stretch a meal more than just for a day or two. So let's start with this. What do we have?
This is a marinade, and actually I call this the marinade that got me my own television show on the OWN network because Oprah has eaten this turkey that I make every year, and we've spent many Christmases together, and one day she called me, this is Dijon mustard, by the way.
Okay, good.
One day she called me and asked me to come to her office. This is lemon.
Yeah.
And said she wanted me olive oil.
Olive oil.
This is a good story, so I have to hurry up and do this.
I know.
Okay.
Well, you throw it in. How about this?
Soy sauce. You
and
do that.
balsamic vinegar. I'll stir it, and then we've
some
got
garlic.
a little bit of garlic.
Yeah, and she said, I'm starting my own network next year, and I'd like for you to come on and create and have your own show on the network. Yeah. Because she loves this marinade so much on her turkey, and you could use this on shrimp and on lamb as well. But today we're going to be doing this with chicken. Now, you just take a 6-pound chicken. I have a plastic bag here. Here's the marinade. I whisked it all together to emulsify everything.
All right.
You Just close it up, put it in the refrigerator overnight. Now, if you don't want to marinate it overnight, you can still use this marinade to roast your chicken in. Let's say you don't have the time, and it's perfectly all right, but it really gives it a lovely flavor.
Do you shake it up, or what do you do?
I'm going to move it around. You move it
around
around a little bit, and then in the refrigerator, and then I would check it after a little while, and then just turn it over, and then let it sleep for the night.
Christina, I want to go over this real quick. So you have Dijon mustard, balsamic.
This is olive oil. We have lemon, olive oil, garlic, soy sauce, and Dijon mustard.
That was it.
Yeah, soy sauce.
I couldn't get that other ingredient.
The reason why I use soy sauce is because when you baste it, I like to baste it. It gives it a beautiful golden brown color. That's where you get it from. Now, you put this in the oven, and then after about 90 minutes, you take the aluminum foil off, and you'll notice that it may be dry on the bottom. So I highly suggest, and please do this, use some chicken stock and just pour it on the bottom, and then baste your chicken every 15 minutes until you have a beautiful golden chicken like this one.
Oh my Lord, this
Doesn't that look good?
Hold on, I got to hip check this thing, right?
Just use your foot. You just kick it, kick it.
Look at this, girl.
Here, I'm going to move this out of the way so you can put this down.
Oh my goodness. I was gonna put it over there, but I'm like,
Ooh, beautiful. Now you see all the wonderful pan juices on the bottom.
Look
how beautiful.
At that. What's prettier? Let's see. Is it prettier that way?
There you go. Now, what I like to use are fresh herbs, because this is what really infuses the chicken with a lot of flavor. I put the herbs inside and on top of the chicken, and the lemon juice that we use for the marinade, I keep it because I stuff it inside the bird.
I'm distracted, Christina.
I know.
Like,
your mouth is watering, I can tell.
I mean, it smells... Okay, I got to describe this. It smells so divine. And have like the fresh herbs of the rosemary and the basil. And what else? What else did you have? In terms
we
of
have rosemary, thyme, oregano. You could use some fresh parsley if you like. There you go. All right.
Oh my Lord!
I'm gonna have you taste that. Look how nice and
it
juicy.
Looks divine. I know Pat's over there salivating. And Pat, if you're nice to me, I may bring you a bite. Possibly.
Look, and it pulls right off the bone. Look at this. Oh, isn't that?
Girl.
Isn't it like? Come on, really. I mean,
have you ever heard this phrase? Good enough to slap your mama.
I'd never hit my mama.
I know, but sometimes
my mother smacked me sometimes when I deserved it.
But there's a phrase that says, when stuff is good, it's good enough to slap your mama. Now, I know you can't slap your mama, but I'm saying it's good, girl.
Yeah, thank you. You know what's great? Now, we have this beautiful chicken here. You can serve it as is, but it will make several more.
That was good.
2 more meals. You take the bones, don't throw them away.
Okay.
Use them for soup. You have chicken salad and a tostada, chicken tostada.
Ooh, that looks delicious.
Yes, and this will feed
too?
a family of 4 each time. So you have you can make 3 meals out of 1 chicken.
That is a good chicken.
It is good, isn't it?
Yes.
No,
Do you think we have to finish the show, or can I just eat?
I'm gonna eat.
Well, girl, you eat. All right. Well, as you eat, I'm gonna hold up your book. Now I understand. A big bowl of love. I need to practice cooking so I can get my own show on cooking.
We're on Saturdays, I believe, and the name of the show is A Big Bowl of Love, just like that.
I would love it. I would love it. Of course, I can never leave Pat.
I don't blame you. I just had the honor of going over there and saying hello to him. Do you tweet, Pat? Are you a tweeter?
No, I don't tweet, but I'm sure I do like to eat.
Oh, good. Well, I'm a tweeter. You tweet me at Christina Cooks. I wish you tweeted. It's so much fun.
All right.
Well,
we'll tweet, Christina. You're a doll.
Okay. Well, listen, for more great recipes, check out Christina's book. I know we're over here eating. No, girl, you do what you have to do. Her book is called Big Bowl of Love, and you can actually pick up a copy in stores nationwide. Also, just check out your local listing for Oprah Winfrey's network to see when Christina's cooking show airs. And I tell you what, we're all going to be excited about it because, you know, can I just say this last thing? It's hard to make chicken original and to do a different flavor for chicken. And you did it. That's divine.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
I love it.
Your mama's, you have your mama? It's a great Mother's Day gift for your mama.
Oh, great Mama's Day gift. Okay, Pat, I'm going to throw it to you, and I'll bring you over some chicken.
All right, bring me some chicken. It looks wonderful. Christina is married to a dear friend, Tony Thermopoulos, who he headed up Amblin Entertainment. They produced a very popular TV show about medical things, and he worked as head of the Family Channel for a while, and a dear, dear friend and a wonderful man. And Christina is probably one of the greatest hostesses in America, and an unbelievable cook, and a former gorgeous model, and all the rest of it. I mean, she's done it all. But this cooking is something else. So anyhow, we're glad she's here with us. Well, I got a horror story to go from the beautiful chicken to this thing. Can you imagine parents that were so evil, so absolutely evil, that they locked a 9-year-old child in his room for 30 days?
It got to the point where my days and nights were mixing together. I mean, I reached what I think was a delusional state.
Well, watch what happens when he emerges from solitary after this.
Got a question for Pat? Send us yours now on CBN.com. We'll bring it online with your questions from our live chat room later on today's 700 Club.
If you have diabetes and love food, pay attention to this free offer.
Hi, I'm Nicole Johnson. I've had diabetes for years, and I love food. To me, there's nothing tastier than rich chocolate cake, except maybe crispy oven-fried chicken or cheesy potato skins. Get these recipes and many more free in these amazing diabetes cookbooks.
If you have diabetes and are on Medicare, you qualify for these 3 free cookbooks. Call 1-800-794-9898.
Enjoy dozens of yummy recipes for desserts, main dishes, snacks, and more. Plus, get this free guide to planning delicious diabetes-friendly meals. So call now and get cooking.
For your 3 free cookbooks and free meal planning guide, call 1-800-794-9898. That's 1-800-794-9898.
And welcome back to the 700 Club. A huge gathering of Christians in Vietnam's largest city could signal an improvement in relations between the government there and churches. Evangelist Luis Palau spoke to thousands in Ho Chi Minh City last weekend, but not everything went smoothly for Palau and his son Andrew.
The tensions went on quite a bit because at the last minute they had a change of venue. Like about a 45-minute drive away from the one area they were hoping to have it to the area where we had it. An average of probably 16,000 each night. And the first night about 2,000 made a commitment. They said that the second night it was more like 3,000 to 3,500. So the percentage of people who came to the Lord was great.
It's encouraging. Next weekend, the Palau team will be in Hanoi for similar rallies. Online gambling is coming to the nation's capital. The District of Columbia is the first U.S. jurisdiction to allow internet gambling. Congress was given a 30-day period to object to the proposal, but that expired last week. Officials say that online gambling could bring in millions of dollars and help offset budget cuts there. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com. Pat and Christy will be back with more of the 700 Club after this.
I was in a lot of pain. I remember feeling, I don't want to have cancer. Why is this happening?
I went to pray with my 10-year-old. He said that he wished he had 2 hearts because one of them was breaking.
I had to reassure her a lot that I'm going to be okay. Things are going to be all right. You know, God's on our side.
This is one thing that Cancer Treatment Center does for people. They give them the courage and the strength to battle cancer.
When you first walk in that building, you almost feel like there's the presence of the Holy Spirit.
It is about the patient. It is only about the patient and what is it that they need and what do they want.
Call now and we'll send you this free DVD that shows you how our very special team of experts and caregivers put you at the center of everything we do. Hope is alive at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
I don't really see how anyone can get through a life-threatening disease without the Lord in their life. He gives us the strength that we need to carry on.
You know, ever since the Rogers got that sunsetter awning, they've been unbearable.
Why, just because they're always outside having fun on their patio, even in the hottest days?
Now you can make the smart move too by finding out all about Sunsetter retractable awnings. A Sunsetter will turn your patio or deck into an outdoor oasis.
You mean you and I could be sitting outside instead of stuck in here with the air conditioning running and all the blinds closed?
Just call for a free information kit, and you'll also receive a $200 savings certificate.
Look at them, they're having such a great time.
A sunsetter awning adds value to your house and lets you have so much fun outside. Call now to get your $200 savings certificate.
Did you call?
I called. Call this number now to receive your free information kit, DVD, and $200 savings certificate.
1-800-668-6694. 1-800-668-6694.
Discipline of children is not an easy thing. You want to set down rules. So what would you do if you caught your kid stealing a piece of candy that you told him not to eat? Derek Steele's parents grounded him for a month. They wouldn't let him leave the house. As a matter of fact, they wouldn't let him leave his own room. They wanted to, quote, teach him a lesson he'd never forget. That lesson worked, but not the way they planned.
I screamed and yelled and banged and cried until that didn't get me anything.
Derek remembers it like it was yesterday. His mother's live-in boyfriend had locked him in his bedroom for 30 days as a punishment for stealing a single piece of candy.
And I was beyond angry. I just wanted to smash everything and everybody around me.
Derek was given food, but had no books, toys, or TV during his 30 days of solitary confinement.
And it got to the point where my days and nights were mixing together. I mean, I reached what I think was a delusional state. Not being able to sleep at night, sleeping during the day.
Remarkably, his mother did nothing to rescue him.
And the hardest part of it all was that feeling of, I must be absolutely worthless.
That sense of worthlessness and self-loathing would stick with Derek long after his punishment was over. In fact, even from an early age, he learned how to medicate his emotional pain by using illegal drugs and alcohol.
At 8, my first drink was with my parents at a Mexican food restaurant. My first drugs came when I was 10 through my sister and her friends.
Derek's drug of choice at age 10 was marijuana.
I remember the feeling of, I started laughing and was laughing uncontrollably.
For the next decade, he medicated his emotional pain with alcohol and drugs.
Ecstasy was my favorite. I mean, it made me feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof and the smartest guy in the room. It was a way to suppress all of the feelings, the fear and the anxiety and the loneliness and, the self-loathing.
By the time he turned 20, Derek had burned out physically and emotionally, and he was facing prison. He'd violated a probation on an earlier charge. That's when it hit him.
When the truth set in, I saw what I was. I was a liar, a cheat, a thief, a dropout, a drug addict, and I knew I was going to jail.
With his worldly possessions in a plastic bag, Derek checked into a Christian rehab center. It was there, through the counsel of a staff member, that he had his first real encounter with God.
And he said, the only way that you're going to be able to win this battle is with God's help. And I told him I didn't believe in God. I had never gone to church. It just wasn't a part of my life.
Back at his bunk, Derek got on his knees and prayed the first prayer that he had ever prayed.
And I said, God, I feel like a fool being here on my knees, and I don't even know that you exist, but I need help.
That was Derek's turning point. The next day, he returned to the staff member's office and for the first time on his knees prayed to receive Jesus as Savior. Over the next year, Derek wrestled with his addictions in group meetings and living with other recovering alcoholics, but he never took another drink. When he left rehab, Derek married and began to work in sales and marketing. Within 5 years, he and his wife started a high-end landscaping design company, which quickly became the largest and most respected in Houston. When he sold that company 5 years after he started it, he became an instant millionaire. But Derek's reaction to success was surprising.
There was a very small amount of bliss. There was maybe an afternoon of bliss after we had sold the company and saw the money and the wire transfer. And then the next day it was, is this it?
Over the years that Derek had been running the business, he had drifted from God. He says that caused a growing void inside.
There was a God-sized hole that I was trying to put everything other than God into. Shopping and traveling and everything else. And all those things stopped working. And so the last resort for me was to either kill myself or to drink again.
That's when Derek sensed a quiet voice inside tell him to call his sponsor. His sponsor urged him to pray.
When I prayed and I hit my knees in my closet, I invited God in to have all of me, and that there's like immediately all of those thoughts of drinking and going back to that and hating who I was, and at that point was removed.
Over the past few years, Derek has been serving other recovering alcoholics at the Christian Rehab Center where he found hope. And he published his first book, called Addict at 10, his life story. But ask him what is most important to him now, and he'll tell you it's spending time with the 2 children he and his wife have been able to adopt.
Bedtime's the best time when we read books. I don't know, just praying with him at night and just, he just doesn't have to go through what I had to go through. The cycle is broken. The cycle is broken. What Christ has done for me is available to anyone. Christ is the solution. Christ is the answer.
The cycle is broken. Let me ask you, what have you been through? I doubt very seriously if any of you have ever had somebody so fiendish that they'd lock you in a room alone for 30 days. That was a horrible thing to do to a child. But something has happened to you. Many times your mother takes on a boyfriend and he abuses you. Many times young people are molested by their uncles, sometimes by their fathers, sometimes by their father's friends. You never know what happens. Sometimes mothers say terribly cruel things to little boys, and I hate you, I'm sorry I ever bore you, and all this kind of stuff. Many children feel abandoned. They don't know what life is all about, and instead of having loving and nurturing, they're brought up in a cold environment. What happened to you? What happened to you? The cycle can be broken, and the only one to do it is Jesus. He can fill you with love. Instead of hatred, he can give you love. He can give you acceptance. He can pull you to himself, and the warm glow of his presence can fill you. And from that moment on, the cycle will be broken. Don't dwell on the past, but dwell on the future of what God has for you. He has a bright, wonderful future ahead for you. A bright, wonderful future. And he will erase the scars of the past if you'll just turn it over to him. He is God, and he loves you. Now, what do you say, what do I do? Well, I want you to ask him, and if you will pray with me, I'll lead you in a prayer that will get you free from whatever bondage you're in, whatever it was that took place in your early life. Pray with me right now, don't be afraid. Pray these words, Jesus, that's right, pray with me. Jesus, Lord, I know you are God, and I know that you came to earth and that you died on the cross for my sins. And I know you paid the price for everything that has happened to me or everything I have done. Now, Lord Jesus, I believe that you are alive, that you rose from the dead. And I call upon you now, and I say, Lord, come into my heart. Break the bondage of what has happened in my past, and let me live from this moment on in your presence. I surrender to you, Lord. I give you my heart and my life. In Jesus' name, come now, I pray, into my life. And from this moment on, I am yours. Thank you, Jesus, that you've heard my prayer, and thank you that you've come into my heart. Praise God. The bondage has been broken and you're free. What I want you to do, though, is to start out. This is step one. There are more steps because you want to grow in the knowledge of the Lord. He's now with you. His Spirit is within you. You're accepted in the family of God. But what do you do next? Well, first of all, you need to understand what's just happened. And then what does the Bible say about if you fall, if you sin, what do you do next? And then what about the baptism of the Holy Spirit? How much more blessing He has for you? What about His second coming? There's a CD, 73 minutes, that tells you all those things. And we'll give this to you free. There's absolutely no financial obligation. There's a little book that goes along with it called A New Day. It has Bible verses to back up what's on this CD. And we'll give this to you free. It's called A New Day. Just call in and say, look, I prayed with Pat, I prayed with that guy on TV. I have given my heart to the Lord. The angels are rejoicing over what you've done. It's 1-800-759-0700. Pick up the phone, call in. We're here for you. Jesus loves you, and we're delighted at what you've just done. So if operators are on the phone, if they're busy for any reason, please call back. No, don't just call once, but the line should be open, and they're here for you. 1-800-759-0700. Christy?
Thank you so much, Pat. Well, we have been compiling your questions all throughout the entire show, and soon you're actually going to be getting your answers. So stay tuned because it's time to bring it online. Up next.
Brenda, you gotta see the video I saw in the 700 Club. I pray God will do the same awesome work in your life.
Go to CBN.com to I Saw It on the 700 Club for a fast, easy way to see and share your favorite videos.
Here at CBN, we see amazing things happen when we stand together.
That's why we want to say thank you to the thousands of you who recently pledged to join the 700 Club.
Your monthly gift makes it possible to bring crucial help to those who need it most.
You help heal the sick, feed the hungry, and preach the gospel across America and throughout the world. You've brought health and hope to people in desperate need.
And changed their lives forever.
Just like you did for Zhang Zhu. She and her 3 children lost everything in an earthquake. They could barely survive below 0 temperatures in a tent without heat. That was until you gave her a heater stove and warm blankets. Now she and her family have hot food and can sleep comfortably at night.
So please, watch for this mailing and send in your pledge. This year, millions will know
the love and saving power of Jesus Christ.
And that only happens because you were there.
When you look in the mirror, can you imagine erasing years of aging?
That's what I used to look like.
Lifestyle Lift takes only about an hour. See the difference immediately.
I'm Linda. I'm 70 years old. Can you believe it?
Call now for a free information kit. It's quick, affordable, and takes only about an hour. Lifestyle Lift, a breakthrough medical procedure that helps remove wrinkles, frown lines, and sagging skin. Call now for a free information kit. Consultations are free. Call Lifestyle Lift today.
Tomorrow, oil prices are up and showing no signs of coming down. Could an alternative be right under our feet?
That's a nice little chunk of change for doing nothing.
See why natural gas is being called the next gold.
For the first time, we have a real ability to take control of our energy future.
Plus, Rebecca St. James on the day she's been waiting for her entire life. Tomorrow on the 700 Club.
Well, these days, sadly enough, millions of Americans are out of work. A few years ago, Mike Sheehan was one of them. But then he went from the unemployment line to company president in just a few months. And here's how he did it.
Mike and Cynthia Sheehan of Castle Rock, Colorado, have stuck together through some pretty hard financial times. And through it all, they've been faithful tithers.
Even during rough times, you know, in our hearts, we knew that was the right thing to do.
In 2003, Mike was laid off from his job in the stone and gravel production business.
It forced me, for maybe my first time, to turn everything over, not just the pieces that I didn't think I could control, but everything to what the Lord wanted to do.
A few months later, Mike was offered an opportunity to become president of a startup company. He accepted, and his business is prospering, even in today's tough economy.
Even when things are as difficult as they are economically, the Lord continues to be faithful to me and to my company to provide us what we need in these very, very challenging economic times.
The Sheehan's are members of CBN's Chairman's Circle and have been partnering with CBN for nearly 20 years.
The integrity that we saw at CBN and continue to see at CBN makes us solid partners in the Lord's work. We believe that CBN makes better use of God's money, our tithes, than anywhere else that we could put our funds right now.
They're willing to step out for the people who cannot stand up for themselves, and I love that.
Through it all, Mike and Cynthia have learned that trusting in God is the safest thing you can do.
He stepped out faithfully every time and blessed us with something greater than we could ever have imagined. So if God does ask you to step outside your comfort zone, go, and you'll be amazed at what will happen on the other side.
You know, there's so many people who hurt in the world. There's so many people who don't know Jesus, and the opportunity is bigger, greater now than it has ever been in history. The doors are wide open. The fall of communism is like the whole world was open. And people are just hungering to know the Lord. What do you do? We're out there reaching them, millions and millions and millions, but it does take some money to do it. And so people who join our 700 Club, join our Chairman's Circle. Last night I did the Chairman's Circle call. We have a special exclusive just for the Chairman's Circle, and that is always a blessing to me, and a few hundred tune in for that because it's exclusive, but we can tell you things we didn't necessarily say on the air. But there are people who pledge $10,000 a year, and it's wonderful. So listen, we have something that everybody says is interesting called the law of expectation.
It's more than interesting. It's good.
Is it
really
good?
No, it really is. It's really good. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It's one of my favorite DVDs that both you and Gordon have put out. Absolutely.
Is it really?
Yeah, and I don't lie because I don't want to get struck down by lightning. So yeah.
I don't think I've ever listened to it.
You've never listened to it? That's well, you said it, so there's your saving grace. You actually were the teacher.
So I didn't want to watch myself say it. All right. Anyhow, we'll give you that when you join the 700 Club. 65 cents a day, and it'll happen. And now, Mrs. Green Jeans is going to tell us how to fix a garden. You know, I did something in the garden today.
Did you?
We had an onion. And
just one onion?
The onion, yeah, was in our kitchen, and it started sprouting. It has sprouted. So I figured I got to put it in the ground. So today I went out and scratched a little hole, put the thing down there, and pushed a little dirt around it, and I hope it'll grow.
Do you think it's going to grow?
Probably not.
You know, that reminds me. That's like with my son who takes acorns and puts the acorns in the ground because he wants a tree.
Yeah, well, that's smart.
Okay, so here's a question for you, Pat. Have you ever heard of something called staycation?
No.
Okay, staycation is like the latest trend where, you know, more and more people, because gas prices are crazy and everything, because of the economy, more people are choosing to stay at home rather than go out and about. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool to do a segment on how to make your backyard kind of like your own vacation oasis? So I started with my backyard. So check this out. So for the past 2 days, I have actually gotten, there's me working, gotten one of the guys from HDTV. There he is, Justin Cave. He's fantastic. And we, in 2 days, remodeled my entire backyard from beginning to end.
Those boots.
All right, you ready? Here we go. So no one, look, I was working like a dog, so no one can say that I have not worked.
Look at those boots. Give me a close-up of
those
boots.
Here is a close-up of these boots. I didn't know this was possible. I busted out a hole in my boot.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah, I busted them out, and 4 of us did. I didn't know you could bust through boots, but that's hard working, brother. Have you ever worked so hard you busted out of your boots?
No, but I've worked hard. I had a rototiller. I did a garden and stuff, but that's going to be April the 19th?
Yeah, next Tuesday, we're going to have the live reveal. It's going to be exciting. Ooh-wah, ooh-wah.
Christy in the garden. Okay, well, that's all the time. It's time for some questions.
It's time for some questions. So we're going to jump right in. And, you know, remember, this is the fun part. You've had an opportunity the entire morning to email, or the whole show to email Pat. Deborah writes in and she says, my husband yells and swears at me in front of our 9-year-old son. As my son gets older, how can I make sure that he doesn't mimic my husband's actions?
you can do it by leaving your husband. I mean, that's awful. He needs to have some really anger management. The idea that he would curse at his wife and say, you know, and yell at her in front of, I mean, it doesn't matter who it's in front of. That's outrageous behavior. We're supposed to live in harmony with one another. He needs Jesus. He needs to get set free. And you need to say to him, listen, I've had enough of this, and you are going to counseling or else. And you need to find somebody who is understanding and who can deal with a man of that temperament. You know, the Bible says have nothing to do with an angry man. I mean, you've got him. He's your husband. But my goodness, that's horrible. And insist. You say, look, I'm not going to stand for this. I'm not going to have my child brought up in that environment. And you are going to go to an anger management course or counselor or else. Okay, what's next?
That was good. All right.
You like that?
I did, except the first line, though, leave your husband. I thought, you know.
I changed.
Thank you. I'm glad you found Jesus halfway through, because at the very beginning, I was like, oh.
Well, I said, no, I better hadn't tell him to do that.
There you go.
My instant reaction was...
You found your way, Pat.
Yeah, leave off the key, Lee, get at the rack, Jack. Okay, go ahead.
All right, Eleanor says, a friend who was hypnotized to lose weight. A friend of mine was hypnotized to lose weight, and it worked. Is it wrong for a Christian to participate in hypnosis?
Yes, it really is, because hypnosis is you're giving control of your subconscious mind to somebody else, and you cannot understand what subconscious thoughts could come in. You can hypnotize somebody. It isn't hard to do. I know how to hypnotize somebody, but it's not something that should be done.
You know how to hypnotize people?
Yes.
What do you do? Get a little watch and say, you are sleepy, very sleepy.
You're getting sleepy. They accept that suggestion, then you go to the next. We used to do this in prep school. It was kind of a big joke, you know.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you go to like hypnotist school or something?
No,
I want to know.
We played as kids, like 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 14-year-old in prep school. But anyhow, no, don't get hypnotized. I don't agree with hypnosis because you're giving the subconscious of your mind over to somebody else. All right, what's next?
That's good.
All right.
I feel like getting a watch saying, Pat, you are getting sleepy.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, Mia says, I'm 18 years old and haven't seen my father in years. How can I initiate a relationship with him when my mom actually has no interest in helping me?
Well, you could try writing a letter, or you can try tracking him down. Where is he? And talk to him. The chances are he might not want to see you, but you could give it a shot. You know, you love him and you want to have some relationship, but I mean, how do you do it? Well, pick up the phone. Yeah. That's how you do it, or write a letter, or send email. However you communicate with people, try it and see if you've got to locate him first.
You know, Pat, that's a great answer, because I've seen this just throughout the years of different family and friends that I've known, where, let's say, the couple breaks up or something happens with the spouses and the kids always end up hurt. Well, you know, I think it's wonderful for the kids to have that courage to say, you know, that might have been mom and dad's problem, but I'm not going to take what happened to them. I'm going to love my mom,
right.
love my dad.
It's got to be.
Yeah, you got to do that.
All
right. Good advice. All right, Tammy writes and says, I love Jesus, but I feel like I can never live up to his standards. How can I make sure that I'm good enough for him?
Oh,
that's a great question.
Tammy, I got news for you. No, you're not good enough for him.
None of us are good enough for him.
This man went to this counselor, and he says, you know, I've been told I have an inferiority complex. And the counselor talked to him, and he says, well, you know, I've got news for you. You are inferior. But
I'm going to make sure I never call you for a pep talk, Pat.
But in this case, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
None of us are good enough. We are in Christ. We are good enough. It's only through him. So it is surrendering ourselves to him and saying, Lord, I take your sacrifice, your spirit, and I ask you to fill me with your spirit. It is not by works of righteousness which we are done, but by his grace that saves us, not by what we've done. So don't try to do it. It's impossible. You can't do it. So if you surrender to him, he can do it. And then the blessing comes. It's by faith.
Good answer.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today. If she agrees, it must be something strange.
It must be good if I agree.
It must be good. Tomorrow, we have a live performance from Rebecca St. James. And we leave you with these words from the Psalms. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Good job.